The Devils celebrated Brendan Dillon's 1,000th game in the National Hockey League, but lost the game 5-3, and they lost the defenseman during the course of the game. He left early in the second period, returned, but didn't play in the third, and so there's concern, rightfully so, for Brendan Dillon.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That's a really big piece of the pillars back there on defense. Brendan is. He came back and gave it a go. So, I mean, we're assuming, Matty, he may not play the next game. It could, but it didn't seem long term. But from what we've seen this year, I'm not going with anything.
Yeah, and I don't even play a doctor on TV. I just thought for a moment back to the Carolina series where it was an innocuous hit in front of the net, and he went down, couldn't put weight on his legs. That was the case here after he got involved in that fight. He went down face first, and you think, and you might be right, that he hurt his leg prior to going down to the ice. But I'm thinking, okay, and he had to be helped off the ice. He couldn't put much pressure on the leg. He did return, though, but he did have surgery in the summer on the neck because of the issue that affected him in that Carolina series. So,
oh, no, you're right, Matty. You know, that's what, there's been so many injuries this year. Besides the condensed schedule and the travel and the fatigue, there has been more injuries than I've ever seen, and some of them really weird. Like, you look and think, oh, that maybe that was a little nick, but it turns into long term.
Yeah, I mean, no recovery time. The games just keep coming at you, and I think we're going to see that the rest of the way. And I
agree.
And the odd one, like Jack's non-hockey injury, and then Alexei Toropchenko gets scalded in some sort of a home injury. His legs get scalded, and that was reported today, and he'll be gone for a while. Like, that has nothing to do with fatigue or a compressed schedule.
And then the barbecue burn on the Florida Panther.
Yeah, Eetu Luostarinen.
Luostarinen. So it's just been totally, in some ways, indescribable. I see it. I can tell you what happened, but I cannot tell you why. I don't know.
Well, let's check out some of the highlights of the game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Devils started out on fire. They had the first 6 shots on Elvis Merzlikins. And on shot number 5, the Devils took the lead. Gives it to the far circle to Bratt without a goal in his last 11. Now to Nemitz and the Rocket. Well, you heard that. Hit the boards, didn't hit the target. Now Mercer. Down low for Hischier, who settles, gives it to Bratt. Bratt moves along the blue line, wrists one to Hischier. In front, they score! A power play goal, an early lead for the Devils, and it's 1-0. Zach Werenski was off for a hook at 40 seconds. Hischier got a little lucky, but it was a power play goal.
Well, it was, and really the fact that it was lucky, you think, okay, things are going well for the Devils. Breaks are going to happen for them, right? 1-0. But could they make it 2-0, Matty?
Well, Jesper Bratt and Dawson Mercer with the assists at 1:26, and they did make it 2-0 on their 6th shot of the period. Kritzuk tries to get it ahead. It rolls free, and Damon Severson will handle. For Mercer, his 11th assist turnover. Kritzuk tries to feed it down low. It does come to Palat, and Andre Palat puts it home. Wow, Chico, you noticed something, and it has unfolded before our eyes in the early going. Well, what did you see, and what was happening to the Blue Jackets?
Well, they just weren't thinking. There was no jump to their game. The terrible reads. And then, Matty, okay, the first goal is good because it's a big break. But Palat scoring a goal, beautiful shot, short side off the pipe. You thinking, yeah, everybody's going tonight, and that's the way it looked at that time.
It sure did, but at 8:23, Dillon was called for a hook. Columbus scores on the power play, and it's 2-1. That's still in the first period. Later in the period, it looks like the Devils have regained a 2-goal lead. But unfortunately, after it was reviewed and it was confirmed that it was a good goal, it was challenged by Columbus for goaltender interference. And looking at it, And we joked about it, no joking matter in defeat. But at the time, Merzlikins saying, listen, I'm carrying this team on my back.
One,
and Stefan Nason was on my back. I can't do it if the other team is going to be on my back. And that was the deciding factor.
Well, I didn't know if they were going to challenge goalie interference. Merzlikins comes out to about maybe 10 feet inside the blue line, his blue line, and he's yelling at the official. The linesman goes over and says, settle down, kid, settle down, settle down. He will not go back. And Maddie and I are laughing, but maybe the Blue Jackets video guys thought if he's that sure, if he's that fired up, maybe we should call a challenge. I still wasn't sure, and it's still not to this time, that it was a goalie interference, borderline, but they called it no goal, and that was a turning point for me.
That wiped the goal off the board, and the Devils had a 2-1 lead going into the second period. They outshoot Columbus 10-7, but remember, they had the first 6 shots of the game in the first 3:03. So Dean Evison started to change his lines a little bit, and things settled down for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Early into the second period we would go, and this second period was as vicious as we have seen this year, and it started early, and it involved Brendan Dillon. Monahan to Werenski.
Oh,
now to
what
Severson.
A bad pass.
Pass goes off his skate of Severson. Here's a centering pass, shot saved by Allen. The puck is poked at, and now mayhem ensues on the ice. Players have headlocks on each other, and now the linesmen blow their whistle. Oh, now Brendan Dillon is involved in a fight with Dmitry Voronkov, who lands a couple of blows.
Oh, no.
And Dillon is down on the ice. His jersey got pulled over his head, and Voronkov had a couple of big rights. And whether those were the result or resulted in Brendan having to leave the game and not finishing the game, don't know. Could have been that leg injury that you think might have happened. Unfortunately, it was sad to see and frightening to see a man down on the ice like that.
Well, Brendan Dillon is so full of energy, Matt. When he got pulled down and then the fight was ending, he just laid there. Like, that's when I said, oh, no, because that's not Brendan Dillon. He just couldn't hardly move, and we saw the results of that as the trainers had to come out and really help him off the ice. He could hardly put any weight on those legs.
And that was just 101 in. Dillon and Voronkov off for a fight. Fantilli was issued a slashing penalty for Columbus, and the Devils had a power play they couldn't score. And that was just the beginning. Less than 3 minutes later, the combatants, not those two, but the teams, went at it again. He has it swept away now. A big hit by Cotter on Matejchuk. Then he hits Werenski, who cross-checks. Glass.
These teams are not liking each other.
Connor Brown now for Nemitz. Connor Brown going after Werenski. They continue to go after each other. There's a penalty coming up, and now Brown slashing at Fantilli. Players grab hold of each other. Siegenthaler's got Fantilli. Fantilli with a couple of punches to the back of Siegenthaler's head. The jerseys come over the head of Siegenthaler, who responds and knocks Fantilli down. They both get back up. They're now separated by the officials. Well, it was an exciting time. Unfortunately, it cost the Devils the service for the rest of the game of Jonas Siegenthaler, because he was issued a fighting major, as was Fantilli, but because he didn't have the tie down attached, Siegenthaler was given a game misconduct, and his night was over.
Absolutely, and I don't think you're going to mention it, but then it was Smith and Cotter. What a battle they had behind the net against the glass. So it was, I mean, everybody, there were a couple guys fighting. I was surprised, and then there were other guys that I expected to get into a battle. So it was just, I know we said it, but there was mayhem going on out there.
Another fight occurred between Voronkov and Stefan Nason. That was the return engagement because of the injury to Dillon, who actually had come back at that time, kind of snuck onto the bench. He was watching from the bench, and it was more a wrestling match than anything else. But at any rate, 4 fights were assessed, 4 fighting majors were assessed to each side. So 8 fighting majors in the second period alone. And the scoring wasn't done because early in that period, it was Sean Monahan tying it up with his 4th goal of the season, a minute 28 in. So that's in between the Dillon fight and the Siegenthaler fight. And somehow Monahan found his way to kind of poke it between the legs of Jake Allen.
Yeah, it was a great play by him. Knocked the puck down and then quickly shot it above the stick. I've watched it, right? And I'm saying, Jake, you got to get those knees together. He is pulling them together, and if the puck's on the ice, he'll make the save, Matty. But it was about 6 inches over the stick, and a terrific shot by Monahan.
And the game was tied at 2, which is the way it was when we went into the third period, and this is when the game got away from the New Jersey Devils. Tied at 2, Charlie Coyle snaps it. Here's Werenski, big shot, save, rebound, they score! It's jammed home by Charlie Coyle. And Columbus now has scored 3 straight. They lead 3-2. It was Coyle's 4th of the year. Werenski and Wood with the assists, and it was a 1-goal lead for Columbus.
And very similar, long shot from the point. Good save by Jake Allen, right? But he's gone down. And because he thought, well, you know, they're not going to bang the rebound right away. He was just starting to get up, Matty, and that caused his legs to open up, and that's where the Coyle put the quick backhand, and that didn't look good at that time.
No, it looked worse 34 seconds later when the lead was extended to 2. Bounded off of, I think, Nico Hischier and just went wide. Now Miles Wood breaking it, and Nemitz knocks the puck free. He's lost his stick in the process. So he's out there without a stick advantage for Columbus. And they score!
Guess who?
Monahan with his 2nd of the night. 2 quick goals, and it's 4-2. And we'll call that the play of the game, brought to you by Prudential, the Devils' official financial services partner. Did Shimon Nemitz have an argument, and head coach Sheldon Keefe?
I think, as I watched it again, Matt, I saw it a little bit. But here's the thing, Nemitz goes behind the net, and he's got his hands up, but then he kicks the puck. If he had left it, now these are the little things I'm always watching as a goalie. If he leaves it, the Devil player will get the puck, but he kicks it with his foot. It goes farther into the corner, and the Blue Jackets got it, and then even the goal, Monahan's out front, Timo Meier's coming, Timo Meier throws a stick in there, Matty, and Monahan shoots it, and it's starting to flip, and it goes and hits just the top of Jake's blocker and goes up in the net. I'm just saying there's so many little things going on there, and unfortunately for the Devils, it all added up to another goal against.
2 goals in 34 seconds for Columbus, that 4th goal of the game. The play of the game brought to you by Prudential. But the Devils would not go easily. Cole Sillinger was called for a slash at 10:45. Power play opportunity for the Devils. They scored with the man advantage in the first. They did so in the third. Now it's Brett. Goes cross ice. Quick shot. They score. It's Timo Meier. What a pass by Brett. And the Devils are in this. 8:09 to go. It's 4-3. Brad is a terrific assist man. He had 2 tonight. He's got 21 on the season. How did he angle that puck so beautifully?
Well, he knew he had to elevate. He's on the left side, right? But he sees Timo Meier, and I've told you this, man. I love Timo Meier on the right side. He can one-time it, or he can grab it like there. He couldn't one-time it. But I watched it in slow motion, and Brat's got to throw it up probably a foot, okay? Because the defending Blue Jackets have their stick on the ice. Goes over both their sticks, but for it to come down right where Timo Meier needed it, Matty, was brilliant, and then he just quickly shot it short side over the pad. But Brat, his accuracy and his ability to pass forehand, backhand, whatever it takes, he can do it all. And like you said in the broadcast, I really now believe, I know it, we kind of suspected it. He is a better playmaker, and he's a good goal scorer, but he is a much better playmaker than most, and even maybe himself as a goal scorer.
21 assists on the season for Jesper, 26 points, so 5 goals, 21 assists, and he's averaging a point per game. But the Devils suffered the loss. And, 34 seconds apart, the goals by Columbus to make a 2-2 game go to 4-2. Devils pull within 4-3 on the power play goal by Meyer, Brett, and Heischer with the assist. But a minute 40 later, a breakdown, a mistake by Jake Allen, and the former Devil, Miles Wood, ended the scoring. Werenski sends it around, picked off near side by Luke Hughes, drives it deep, but here comes Provorov. At his own blue line, across the red line, slips it in. Allen, now for Luke Hughes, has his pocket picked. Here's a centering try, and they score! It was Miles Wood, and you heard it going off the post, his 7th of the season at 13:31. Puck's behind the net. Seems a simple play. Luke Hughes is going to take the pass. Should the pass have been made to him, given who was behind him?
Jake Allen would say no. Well, here's the puck. The puck is shot in. If you're looking at the net from the left boards, it goes all the way around. Now, Jake's kind of said, okay, I know that Luke Hughes is over there. Now he stops the puck, Matty. He doesn't take a second look. He just throws it right to Luke. But who was covering Luke? Coyle. Coyle sneaks in, and as soon as that puck gets on his stick, he chips it off Luke's stick and makes a great pass. But if Jake Allen, we all have anxiety. If Jake Allen had just stopped it, Matty, and just looked for a second, he said, oh, no, I'm not going to pass that to Luke. That guy's coming right on him. But he didn't look the second time, just threw it to him. And from there, the puck goes out to Woody, and Jake Allen is there, and Jake Allen does this. He says, if I go forward, if I dive at the guy, he's probably going to hit me. And I thought it was good, except that ding you heard was Miles Wood, who sometimes isn't the most accurate shooter. He made a gorgeous shot off the pipe, and that was kind of the end of it for the Devils.
Miles Wood last year had 4 goals in 37 games with Colorado. Just wasn't a good fit there.
No.
But he comes to Columbus, and he's got 7 goals. 7 goals this season for Miles Wood. Charlie Coyle with the only assist. The goal at 13:31. Devils lose by a score of 5-3. We'll hear from Paul Cotter in a minute, but let's check in with the head coach.
He would never do something like that to another player. That I know for certain. Yeah, I don't like it at all. I mean, I don't think Dilly knows he's in a fight. I think he's tackled from behind, and before he knows it, his helmet's off, his jersey's over his head, and we saw what happened from there. So I don't like it at all.
You lost Siegenthaler, which I'm sure you didn't like either, and just how the game kind of maybe that.
Yeah, it's hard. Listen, and I don't like that either. I mean. You all can watch the game back. Siegenthaler received 7 punches before he removed his gloves. So, for me, there should be an extra penalty there. I don't know how that works, whether that affects the fact that his jersey just shouldn't be tied down because he wasn't a willing fighter until he just had to try to protect himself. But regardless. The rule is you got to tie down. That's the rule. So from that end, it's unacceptable from Sieg's point of view. But to me, he doesn't go into that wanting to fight. And it wasn't until after receiving 7 punches that he had to engage. So that's a tough one. Both of those to come out like that. It's tough. So that's what I don't like about the game. I don't like how we handled those situations emotionally. I mean, obviously not long after the situation with Dilly, they score. So don't like that. We've got to do a better job of staying in it as hard as it is, and it was quite hard to see that. And then same with how they scored the 2 goals in quick succession in the third period. Like, those are emotional times. So got to stay with it. There's lots of game left there.
When you talk about those emotional times and those types of responses or lack thereof, is it hard to break down a game like this in a certain way because you're also dealing with that emotional side of it?
Yeah. I mean, and I like this. players aren't going to want to come in and talk about X's and O's and all that kind of stuff because, like I said, there's no more honorable player in this league than Brendan Dillon. There's lots of guys who play with great honor, but nobody exceeds his character and who he is. So it has a very large effect on the team if something like that happens. I wish it hadn't. I wish we could handle it better because we've got to play a hockey game. But there's some human side to all of this at the same time. So yeah, it is tricky from a coaching side of it to do anything other than hope for the best for Dilly, who's doing well. It was all precautionary. We made the decision to not play him anymore. But we'll just we'll get regrouped here and get ready for the rest of the week. It's a busy week ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, so Dylan is doing good after the game, and was there thought to keep him out before he went back in?
Yeah, obviously I'm on the bench, so I'm not quite exactly sure what's happening with all that, but I was surprised to see him back, but he was cleared, did all the tests that he's required to do, and cleared all that, and he wanted to come back to play, and obviously not much time left. We gave him a couple of shifts, but ultimately, with more time and discussion, just decided to despite the fact he's doing well and feeling good, we just made the decision we'll give him some time.
You talked about his character, but just what was your raw initial reaction when you saw he was coming back or heard he was coming back?
Surprise, like I said, just because of how it all worked out. But talked with our medical guys and he cleared everything and went through all the tests that he's required to do. So felt good about it there. But again, when we had more time and things settled down, we just made the decision, as difficult as it was, knowing we were already without Siegenthaler, that we had to do what we thought was best for Dilly in that moment.
Sheldon Keefe in an emotional state over what happened to one of his rock-solid defensemen. Also, the way the team did not, in his eyes, respond to those emotional moments.
Yeah, that was part of it. There was a lot of aspects, and I agree, he said that Siegenthaler took 7 punches before he engaged. And that's sad, and I agree with him, but then what does Siegenthaler do? He's got to defend himself. That's not the referee's fault. I think what he's saying, and this isn't the referee's fault either, it's like some of the delay of games. They're really bad break delay of games, but it's a cut-and-dried rule. He says, I just don't like the rule, and I tend to agree with him, Matty. I mean, it's not like the old days where fighting was a strategy. Now, if the guy's jersey comes off, that's going to happen. Blow the whistle right away then. Kill the play. But to throw the guy out of the game after taking 7 shots, it's just not fair. And like Coach is saying, I don't know what the answer is, but I just don't like the rule.
The good news in that conversation was that Brendan Dillon is doing well. He's okay. But from a precautionary standpoint, they just elected not to play him in the third. Hopefully he is fine tomorrow, and will be back out on the ice on Wednesday against Dallas, the team that he signed with and played his first game with at the start of a career that's gotten him to 1,000 games played. But the Devils can ill afford to lose anyone, particularly a guy who eats some minutes and plays on the penalty kill and all that sort of stuff.
Well, if they do lose him, I don't know. I'd have to look, too. I'm like Sheldon Keefe. I'd have to look at what happened to the defense. I mean, the one play where the goalie, Allen, gave it to Hughes too quickly. Okay, that that can't happen. The other stuff, the other thing was, Matty, the sneak play by Monahan to beat Siegenthaler. He reaches way out in front, and Siggy's looking down to try to get the puck, and he reaches way out. Monahan just slaps it between his legs, and then a quick shot through the 5-hole. I mean, you say, well, okay, what do you do? Siggy doesn't usually do that. And then I think the one that would really hurt was the long slapper. Remember how we've talked about the Devils' defenders being in front, cleaning up rebounds, right? Taking care of that area. Well, that one moment, shot, Allen lets the puck go straight out. Now, I'm sure he's thinking, well, we got as much chance to get it as they do. He starts to get up, and Monahan quickly whacks it right through his – no, it wasn't Monahan, excuse me. It was Coyle on a backhand yet. It wasn't even – so I don't know what you say. How do you really prevent those? I don't know. I mean, I didn't think the Devils – what did you think? I didn't think the Devils were just overwhelmed. They were good along the boards. Some mistakes, yeah, but, I mean, how did you see what was going on there?
I would agree with you, but I would ask you as someone who played the game, and while you were in goal watching what happened, you didn't have to make a play as a defenseman or a forward, but what Sheldon is saying, you lose your defenseman, right? So Dylan leaves. It looks bad. And, okay, so your emotions, you're down. I mean, he's a teammate. You love the guy, right? And 27 seconds later, Siegenthaler, he didn't allow Monahan to get around him, but Monahan did get behind him. It was a bouncing little puck that he shoves through his legs and skates around him. I won't say that can't happen because I'm sure Jonas didn't want it to happen. But it did happen, and you're saying it can't happen. It's one of those dilemmas.
But I will say that won't happen much the rest of the year. You know what I mean? It was one of those moments. And it wasn't like it was just bouncing, Matty. If you look at it closely, and I'm always a detail guy, it was just bouncing, and he knocked it through. But the puck is bouncing, and it's getting outside, apparently, the reach of Monahan. He's got to really stretch, and then he tipped it with the toe of his stick right through his legs. And yeah, it could, but that's not, Jonas Siegenthaler doesn't let that happen much. So, yeah, you got to say, hey, you can't let that go on like that. And he said, I know, and I'm not going to, and it's not going to happen much. But, like tonight, Matty, some games, everything goes right, and some games, not much of anything turns out the way you'd like. And I saw some of that tonight.
Yeah, and then I would go to the second Monahan goal where it scored 34 seconds after it's 3-2. And, Nemitz lost his stick, and he kicks the puck, and those things happen. But don't you say we have to be stronger, that we cannot let them get in on us that quickly or that easily. We've got to be the team in control that imposes, for a shift or two, at any rate, our will to at least settle things down.
Well, here's what we agree. If the Devils play like that and make those kind of mental mistakes, they're going to be in trouble. The good news is that's not who this team is. These guys they're above that. But tonight, I'm sure, you just think about it. You're frustrated. So Simon Nemec loses his stick. He sees a puck down there. He's kind of mad anyway because he was throwing his hands up. Why no call? So he kicks the puck. But he didn't know that his guy was going to come and get it. So he kicked it away from his guy, went to their guy. It's just like Jake Allen not taking the second look to say, should I give this to Luke? Oh, no, the guy's right on him. He just assumed from what he had seen moments before that he's open, and so he just turns and shoots. So I don't know. But that is still coaching, and that's the way you got to improve. But, Matty, I still say, and I don't know if you agree, the Devils have to learn something from this, right?
Yeah. And the 3 goals in 26 seconds against Philadelphia, to pick another recent moment, those are the moments. At some point, you got to put your foot down and say, we're stopping things here, despite the fact the other team is trying. I get it. But good teams, and I believe the Devils are a good teams say, we're done.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if you play it safer. The tendency after you've given up a goal, well, let's respond. Let's go on the attack. But that sometimes opens you up to them getting another goal or 2 like they did in Philly. So it's a mystery. Devils will try to figure it out. But here's all I will say. There's been games they've won that were character builders. And I'm going to take the positive, and I think this loss can be a character builder from guys sticking up for each other, getting in scraps, Dylan coming back even though he's hurt, because that's what you got to get out of a loss. You can't just get down and say, we're just brutal. You got to say, okay, but there were some good things. Let's take those out of the loss.
And the Devils will try to do that as they get ready for Dallas. Before we say goodbye, let's hear from Paul Cotter.
That's an awfully emotional game, I imagine, for you guys, just seeing, what happened to Dilly, and then how is it like sort of managing all those emotions regardless of the fighting?
Yeah, I mean, sucks. Outcome sucks. I'm proud we stuck together, though. We'd like to think that, if any guy in our team had something like that, we'd all step in. And, Dilly's a massive part of this team and holds a lot of respect between all of us. And, obviously, if anything happens to him, we're all ready to do something. So I think it showed some character, at least on the bright side of things, but not the ending we wanted.
Did it take you out of your game tonight, you think? I mean, was that their purpose tonight, to kind of get you into this type of game?
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. I think a good thing about our team is I'd say we're pretty versatile with, whatever comes our way. You want a tough, hard-nosed game, we got guys for that. You want a skill game, we got guys for that too. So I think that's ultimately, our superpower is just being able to be versatile. So I wouldn't think that ultimately, made us have the outcome that happened, but you got to be better in a lot of different areas.
Maybe in a different way, just like it's hard to find a rhythm when things get into, you know what I mean? Like hockey is so about that rhythm, right? Like
it is, and obviously there's a lot of guys that aren't on special teams, so that the flow could kind of hurt them. But like I said, I'd like to think that we're a pretty versatile team, so we should be able to manage whatever comes our way.
They scored the 2 quick goals after the Dylan. How much did that have an effect on just the bench and just the morale?
Yeah, it wasn't great. Obviously, whenever they score 2 goals right away, it's not great. But after some of the things that happened, tough timing. But I thought our response right away was pretty good in terms of we had a couple fights. Guys are hitting. We have guys that don't normally hit. They're throwing the body. So I'm proud of that sense. Just got to find a way to grab a hold of the game again after that.
What's going through your mind when he comes back?
When Dylan came back,
Yeah.
I have no idea. I was very shocked and not shocked. I mean, he's a warrior. Glad he's on my team. We'll just say that. Like I said, he holds a lot of respect between all of us. And when he came back, I was proud of him. But I think it was just more of a precautionary thing, just to, you never know. So, but yeah, crazy he came back.
Is that a thing where you just put that onto the calendar for the next time you meet them?
I'm sure it's going to be quite the match next time we play them. Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
And that will be New Year's Eve.
Yeah, what a way to end 2025.
Yeah, it'll be in Columbus, a rematch, and we'll see. I'm guessing something will happen. Simply because that is the way hockey is. Mm-hmm. Whether it'll be what would have happened 25 years ago, I'm not sure. But there'll be some sort of something, as we saw in Buffalo. The hit by Stefan Nason on Tage Thompson last February. Mm-hmm. There was a little standoff early in that game, as the memories are long in this sport.
And that's what we're going to go with, because that's what we want to happen.
Yes.
The only question I don't agree with, I wouldn't. When you ask Paul Cotter, did all that take you out of rhythm? Because if you say yes, you're thinking, oh, Devils can get taken out of rhythm that easy. If they got out of rhythm, why didn't Columbus get out of rhythm? Why couldn't they? No, it's just breaks were happening, and you could see it, Matty, after the 2 goals. I don't know what I really worried about was the fact that I'm watching little things, and darn it, the Devils aren't getting a break there. Oh, darn it, they're not getting a break there. You could just see it start, whatever that is, the unseen hand, as an old coach used to say, was starting to go in the favor of Columbus, and that's what worried me. And like I say, we talked about Devils, there's things they could do. Well, things they have to do, not they could do. Like, you're right. Why do they get scored in a couple, 2 or 3 quick goals? Is it something emotional? Are they trying to do too much? Are they? I don't want to say they're losing their focus, because then I would think, oh, the Devils really got some big weaknesses. So I don't know, but the final thing was Sheldon Keefe said, listen, We got to put this behind. I know it's an old cliche, but we got to get it together in practice. We got to refocus because he didn't say this, but you and I know, Maddie, they got a couple tough games coming up.
Dallas on Wednesday, Vegas on Saturday to wrap up this homestand. Then they go to Boston, and we won't go much farther beyond that. But
no,
it doesn't necessarily get any easier. But the next two are very formidable opponents. Wednesday night, the Dallas Stars come to town, a game we'll have for you here on the Devils Hockey Network.